Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of my Undead Priest hardcore series where we only have one life. Our last episode we spent the entire episode exploring Terrace Fog Glades and the Undercity while talking a lot about the lore of this place and kind of like taking a deep dive into the Undercity. For today I want to go ahead and pick up the last quest that we can see here where we could donate one Undercity if we wanted, but this is going to take us to Silverpine Forest where I have a sneaking suspicion, zoomed in too far, that this is going to be the final episode of this Let's Play series, and if it's not, next episode will be, because I'm definitely probably going to die with what I want to do next episode. But let's go ahead and come into here where we can talk to Apothecary Johan and we can pick up this quest that is just going to send us to Silverpine Forest with basically the findings that this apothecary has founded about the plague and all the other like different pieces of experimentation that he has done around this area of the road that we've helped him with and what he's done on his own. But let's go ahead and head towards Silverpine Forest, which the reason why I say this is probably our last episode is partially because our last two hardcore series only ever went to 3 episodes, even though we were like wildly different levels at the end of episode 3 of each of those. But basically I'm going into Silverpine Forest, which is a very, very difficult zone, as you can see by all the red here, especially in the first area, where I'm probably not going to try to avoid a lot of the different things around this zone. I will probably avoid like the elite quests, but I think I'm going to try to do all the quests that I can, which is going to put me in harm's way to a lot of very powerful enemies. Or if we come into Deathlog here and I come to zone statistics, to Eastern Kingdoms, to Silverpine, we can see that there is one enemy in particular that is responsible for many of the deaths in Silverpine Forest, and that is the son of Arugal, which this mob is a very interesting mob because he only patrols and kind of hangs out in this area of the world. Or I think there might be like a couple of them, but he basically hangs out where a bunch of like level 12 to like level 15, 16 players are, and he's like a level 24, which is bad enough already, elite mob. So he is super, super dangerous, and when you are in this area of the road you have to pay a lot of attention to your surroundings because you could die instantly because of this mob. But let's go ahead and leave Terrace Fog Glades and Lordaeron, the capital city, behind us and enter into Silverpine Forest, which is a very cool zone that I like a lot aesthetically, and it feels like a little bit like Terrace Fog Glades, but it is a lot more foresty and less plainsy. And we can go ahead and just wander through this entire area and kind of see how the plague has left this entire area damaged and destroyed and weakened. And I have a little bit of nostalgia from Warcraft 3 with this place, from the Frozen Throne campaign, because you come here with all the night elves and they're trying to heal the forest and whatnot, and there's all the other like bits of story going on in this road with like Wealth of Loss, and then also like just Maeve of being Maeve and all of that. And I just like this place a lot, and it's really fun to run through here, where I really want to highlight some of the bigger places in this area as we progress through here. But first, let's go ahead and do a quest that is probably going to kill us, because it is an escort quest escorting Erland, where we have a couple of farms right here in Silverpine Forest, and we can go ahead and fight a bunch of the modded wargs around here. And let's go ahead and clear our way to this farmhouse, where we will have an escort quest to escort this person all the way over there, to which we'll then have a quest to go fight a boss, or I think that might come up later. But let's go ahead and just run into here, where we should be able to find, oh, a soul fragment over there. That's not good, but we should have an undead in here who is not currently in here, which, if my suspicion that I had in my head was correct, because as we were coming in here I noticed that there weren't a lot of modded wargs right here, which means that a player must have been through here recently. So let's go ahead and fight some of these modded wargs to maybe clear the area a little bit, and let's be careful about anything respawning behind us and dealing a ton of damage to us, where we have this new skill that we can use with the Touch of Weakness, where the physical damage done is reduced by 2. And I feel like I should probably maybe throw this up here actually, but let's go ahead and loot that. And we got a discolored war cart, which we will need a few of these, so this is a good opportunity for us to just wander around here where we just saw this warg respawn. Let's try to tag him really quickly before any others respawn, and maybe we could come inside the house and then heal up after this fight. But yeah, if I die in the coming minutes, we can go ahead and return to Silverpine on another character that's not on hardcore, and we can kind of just explore some of the cooler areas around here. And if I die partway through the zone, we can just pick up where I left off from my leveling, which I don't know if this is like cursing me or maybe counter cursing me because I'm talking about it so much, but I definitely feel like death is on the horizon for us and we are very close to dying. But let's go ahead and come fight this modded warg where we got a couple more discolored war cards, so we should be able to complete that quest pretty quickly. And we are actually getting kind of close to level 13, and we should have quite a bit of rested experience right now, so we should be able to get quite a bit of experience and level up to level 13 pretty quickly as we fight the wargs here, which might give us like a nice boosted power and also like restore all of our health and mana as well. Okay, the Deathstalker has respawned, so let's go ahead and just heal up and drink up really quickly. And you can see some flies on that table around that meat, which is gross. But then as we heal up, we can go ahead and begin this escort, which the start should be a little bit easier for us because I just cleared out some of the modeled wargs there. But let's go ahead and just follow him through this area where we just need, oh, there's another one there, where we just need to get to that other farm. So let's just be very careful, as he says. And there are definitely going to be a lot of wargs around here, but he should help us out a little bit, or should make this a little bit easier. But then he will also make this probably significantly more harder as well, because he might pull a lot of enemies. And I see two wargs just sitting right next to each other, which is going to be inconvenient for us. But let's try to fight this warg, who the Deathstalker should run towards soon. Oh, he just turned off that way. Okay. Is he... oh no. Okay, let's try to kill this warg very quickly, and then those two wargs are going to attack him, and then I don't have shoot on my bar, so let's go ahead and attack this warg first, and I'm just going to come and throw that right there, which I don't think I've trained my wand skill at all, and I think our friend is almost dead here. Okay, can we mind blast before we... So we failed that quest. Okay, let's wait for him to respawn, where I can just kill a few more wargs over here and maybe make this area a little bit safer. And I can also level up my wand skill as I do this, because we should be in a relatively safe position right now, where I should definitely heal up because we're getting low on health. And I'm starting to deal a little damage here and there with my wand, which is beneficial. And as I say that, oh, there we go, 17 damage. Let's go ahead and heal up again here. Hopefully we don't get crit or attacked by another enemy. Where our wand skill is getting pretty high now, and there is a troll warrior that just logged in or whatever. So now we have a team of 2 for when this undead respawns, where we should be able to complete this escort significantly more easily now, or like twice as easily, which is beneficial for us. Let's go ahead and buff our friend up right there. And we now have a third person, which means we are even more powerful now, and we should have a pretty easy time completing this escort, which is nice. It's nice to see some people playing hardcore still, especially on Horde, which is less popular, and I'm playing on the less popular of the 2 servers right now. So it's very nice that there are like 3 people here in the middle of a Friday, which is when I'm recording this. And there's another person way over there. I'm not sure if they're here to do the escort or not, but they're on the road right now. And the escort is now up, so we can go ahead and begin this adventure, which should be a pretty easy adventure to do. And we have now begun this escort, which last time it was a little kind of like janky, but now we should be able to have a much better time with this. So let's go ahead and just clear all the wargs through this area and over towards the farmstead, and we might level up to level 13 as we do this, which is fun, where we just need to get over towards this other Deathstalker over here. And then I think there's like a third one inside, where we have a bunch of Ravenclaw slaves right here. So there are a bunch of undead in these fields, where there were wargs in the other fields, so we need to be careful about all of them, where we are still 2 bars away from leveling up, but we can go ahead and turn in this quest, and we are so close to leveling up. but let's go ahead and pick up this one and then pick up this one, and I said thank you and everyone left. And if you come up here, there is another Deathstalker up there. So I have 2 quests to go turn in at the main Forsaken town in this area. Or let's go ahead and get out of here quickly before anything respawns, and I'm going to go ahead and just cut to the road, and we can be very careful about the Sons of Arugel as we go along this road, because I think they do tend to wander pretty close to the road, where the Sons of Arugel are a very special type of worgen, which we see a worgen right there, which worgens are very, very cool, where they're basically World of Warcraft's werewolves, and I've talked about them a lot in past Let's Play episodes and other Let's Play series, especially in my Human Mage playthrough. I talked a lot about the worgen, where they play a big role in Ashenvale and a big role in Duskwood, but maybe their biggest role is here in Silverpine Forest, where there's just a lot of story related to the worgen. And then we learn, of course, in the Cataclysm expansion, that worgen made their way into Gilneas and basically kind of infected a bunch of the Gilneans, and then the worgen playable race, which are humans from Gilneas that become worgen, join the Alliance in the Cataclysm expansion, which is very fun. But there's story related to Arugel, who we kind of interact with a lot in Silverpine Forest, and then we also have the Shadowfane Keep dungeon, which is very, very important for this worgen storyline, which is overlooking the town of Pyrewood Village, which that town and also Amber Mill, if you remember from last episode, are 2 towns that belong to the nation of Gilneas that are here in Silverpine Forest. But Pyrewood Village is all worgen now, and then Amber Mill is controlled by the forces of Dalaran, who we can fight against. Which fighting against the Dalaran forces is really, really interesting, because Horde fight them in the vanilla version of the game, and Alliance are allied with them. But then with Wrath of the Lich King and future versions of the game, the Horde are allied with the mages of Dalaran, even though we massacred a bunch of their members in vanilla. And it's just a really interesting storyline that goes on. But up here we have the main town in Silverpine Forest, known as the Sepulchre, and we have a bunch of different quests that we can go ahead and pick up here, where in the Burning Crusade expansion we actually have another character that gets introduced to this place, that is a Blood Elf character that basically serves, oh there we go, level 13, who basically serves as an emissary for Silvermoon, and we can see Blood Elves in a lot of different towns, or early towns, or just towns in general, I guess. They get added everywhere in the Burning Crusade to add them to the road, and same thing with the Draenei and Alliance towns. But we can go ahead and pick up this quest here, and then we have Delar Dawnweaver over here that we can go ahead and get that quest from, and then a Death Guard over here, which is basically going to teach us about flight paths, where we can go ahead and take a bat to the Undercity, where yes, the Forsaken ride bats, or if you go to a town that has a Forsaken Flight Master, or most of the time a Forsaken Flight Master will be using most of the time a bat that you can ride to your destination. But as we picked up all these quests, we also have 3 different quests that we can turn in, plus some more that we can pick up. So let's turn in these 2 quests right here, and then we can go ahead and return to where we just were, and then I think that's going to lead to that undead quest that I was thinking about. But we have a bunch of other quests up here that we can do as well, where I am pretty certain we are going to die in this episode as I explore all those quests, but we'll just see what happens. Where let's come down here a little bit, and we can chat with Hadric, and we can turn in this quest, and then we can get this quest right here, which we need to go back up there, and then we can kill Rothhide Nose in order to lure out Nightlash, which is a big powerful undead. And then we can turn in this quest, speak with Windferrel, where we now have this quest to go to the Undercity. So we have 2 quests to return to the Undercity, one after we talk to the Flight Master. But let's go ahead, throw a talent point back into Spirit Tap here, because that's going to be beneficial for us. And now I have a bunch of quests to do all around Silverpine Forest and to return to the Undercity. So let's go ahead and do that, and likely die along the way, and let's go ahead and talk about Silverpine Forest and potentially some other things as well. Where I think Silverpine Forest is a masterclass of a zone, where I think when you take into account every single aspect of this zone and how it all comes together and how it all builds off of each other, I think it is just one of the most phenomenal zones in any video game. And I just want to go over a bunch of the different aspects as we explore throughout the rest of the zone, where a very large storyline going on in this zone that I've talked about is related to the Worgen Curse and Arugo and the Scythe of Elune and stuff surrounding that area of Warcraft lore that I've talked about in this episode a tiny bit, and I've talked about in general in my different Let's Play series, where I think it is a pretty cool storyline with the Worgen, and it's also kind of cool right now because Cataclysm Classic just released, so I was just kind of playing through the Worgen zone a little bit in Gilneas and doing all the Worgen storylines and stuff like that. And I think it's such a great experience with just having like the stories in Silverpine Forest and the stories in Gilneas and just everything working off of each other. And I think it just is phenomenal, where the vibes of this zone with the Worgen is just such a cool vibe, especially in hardcore, because the son of Arugo is scary, very scary, and there is a reason why he is one of the most deadly creatures in all of Azeroth, where a lot of people died to the sons of Arugo, where I think I have died maybe like, years ago at some point, but not in recent memory, but I came very close a few times. And I think a really cool aspect about like the Sons of Arugo with how it comes into hardcore is it's another element of like that hardcore challenge where you have to be very attentive of the Sons of Arugo, because when you're coming through Silverpine Forest in general, you always want to be aware of like the Sons of Arugo, because it's like you don't want to die because you don't want to have to like run back, or you don't want to lose fighting a mob, or you don't want to take like the durability damage, so you then have to like spend gold to repair your armor. You don't want any of that. But in hardcore, if you die, you die. So the Sons of Arugo are exceptionally incredibly dangerous in this version of the game, and it just adds a whole other element to this zone that kind of exists in the classic version of this zone, but is very pronounced and dramatic in the hardcore version, where you see a lot of people skip Silverpine Forest because it is such a deadly and dangerous and scary zone, as is evidenced by me almost dying a couple times to the Son of Arugo, but surviving luckily, where I had a very cool encounter where I was questing over by the spiders, which should be on your screen right now maybe, and I was just fighting the spiders around here, and I wasn't paying too much attention to my surroundings, where there was another person in the area who then like screamed out and say, "Chat, watch out, Son of Arugo," or something along those lines, and it instantly caught my attention, and I looked behind me, and like it felt like 2 feet behind me, but obviously he wasn't in range to like catch my scent just yet, was a Son of Arugo, and I was so scared, and I immediately ran away, and I almost died there, and it was definitely very nerve-wracking, but I survived. And I think like that interaction is really cool to have, because it's kind of like people just looking out for each other in the open world, and then also it's kind of like the hardcore challenge where I have been playing this character, and that warrior that I was playing with, maybe that warrior is dead now, maybe he died in like Hillsbrad Foothills or something, or maybe he will survive and he will carry on and he will go kill Ragnaros, and it will be the same character, the same warrior that kind of saved my life there in that moment outside of the mines with the spiders, which is very cool. But just overall, the whole Worgen storyline and kind of like the Sons of Arugo with like the hardcore stuff going on is such a great experience, and I absolutely love the vibes of this zone with the Worgen, which kind of goes hand in hand with like the whole undead storyline going on in this zone, where we see some stuff with like Thule Ravenclaw, and then we have of course the Scourge and the kind of whole plague thing that happened in Lordaeron, which was a pretty big story in Warcraft 3 of course, and is a pretty big story here in World of Warcraft, and continued forward into like the World of Warcraft as it evolves, where the Third War has a major impact on this area of the world in the story and in the zone's like atmosphere itself, where overall the questing experience throughout the zone is pretty fun, and I really enjoy the quests. And I think some people don't enjoy it, Sons of Arugo and all, killing everybody, but because it's like a very vertical zone where there's a lot of running up and down, kind of similar to Darkshore that I showed in my Night Elf Druid hardcore series, where you just run up and down a lot, and some people don't really enjoy that. but it doesn't bother me too much. But probably the biggest weakness of this zone is how you can't really exclusively level here from level 10 to 20 or whatever level range you're doing, where you do have to go to other zones to get some experience, to catch up, to do more quests in Silverpine, or you could sit around Silverpine killing a bunch of mobs, which some people do. But I went to the Barrens, which is the other big horde zone at this level, where the two are Silverpine and the Barrens, where the two zones are actually kind of interconnected with each other, which is very nice because you have a bunch of quests to go to the Barrens from Silverpine Forest as you do quests here, and then in the Barrens, and then also in Thunderbluff, where there is a really cool undead like refuge in Thunderbluff that I have like showed and talked about because the Torn really took in the undead and helped them out a lot. But there are some quests that you can do which will eventually take you back to Silverpine. So I just went to the Barrens and I did a few different quests all around this zone, and I leveled up twice, and I basically just went and explored like Ratchet and Thunderbluff, and I picked up all these quests and I went back to Silverpine to continue the questing, where for the most part I have spent most of my time so far in the northern half of Silverpine Forest, and now we can go down to the southern half where there are two really cool things going on here. And they both kind of relate to one of the biggest story pieces in this area of Azeroth as a whole, which is kind of like the concentration of human empires that are the remnants of the Arathorian Empire, where if you go back even further than the Arathorian Empire, you have a bunch of human tribes that settled in this area of the world, where we started off in Lordaeron, which is one of the human kingdoms that were a member of the Alliance of Lordaeron during the Second War against the Orcs, and there are a bunch of other human kingdoms that were a part of that alliance, as well as the elves of Quel'Thalas and the gnomes of Gnomeregan and the dwarves of Ironforge. But we got like the humans of Altrak, which are kind of nearby here, and then you also got some like other human kingdoms like Koteris. But in this area of the world, we have the Kingdom of Dalaran, which is the Kingdom of Mages, where we have the like ruined city of Dalaran that is underneath the giant magical bubble that is in the Altrak Mountains right next to Hellsbrad Foothills, which I have been to in both my Human Mage and my Orc Shaman Let's Play series, where we have Amber Mill, which is actually a town that is under the control of another human kingdom, or used to be under control, and now it's kind of abandoned, but it was under the control of Gilneas. But currently in World of Warcraft, this town is being like controlled, occupied, protected by the mages and guardians of Dalaran, where we can come through here and we can kill a bunch of the Dalaran mages, and we can go ahead and complete a quest, and it will lead to another quest to kill like the leader of the mages in this area, where I think this is a really interesting quest because we kill all of these mages in this area of the world and around Dalaran as a member of the Horde, and then in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion and also the Burning Crusade expansion to some degree because of a raid reputation, but especially with the Wrath Lich King expansion, where we see the Karen Tor, the mages of Dalaran, and the city of Dalaran rebuilt and being a big part of the story. The Horde can become friends with the Karen Tor, and they're basically buddy-buddy, and it's kind of like story-wise, it's buddy-buddy out of necessity, where they are willing to accept the aid of the Horde and kind of ignore like past aggressions. And then there's like a bunch of like back and forth like storyline about like being nice and being mean to each other throughout the story of World of Warcraft. But it's kind of just interesting to think about our experience here in vanilla, where we are killing the mages here, and then how it progresses forward in the future. But Amber Mill is a town that was under control of the Kingdom of Gilneas, where there is another town in this area that was under control of the Kingdom of Gilneas, and it is Pyrewood Village, where looking down upon the Pyrewood Village is Shadowfang Keep, which is a really cool dungeon that I actually did a couple times and a couple recent streams, one the vanilla version and one the Cataclysm version, that I just enjoyed the dungeon so much. And I think it looks really cool looking down on Pyrewood Village, and it's such like a cool vibe and aesthetic, and it is actually an elite area, so I don't really go in here and do a lot of things because I really don't want to deal with elite quests right now, and I don't think there is really anybody looking to do them right now anyways. But I probably could have found a group if I like put in a lot of effort, but I just wasn't interested in doing that. Where we can kill some Worgen in here, and we can also help out a Deathstalker. And overall, I think it's such a cool vibe with like this Gilnean town, which is just north of like the main like kingdom of Gilneas. This is kind of like a far away town, like right on the outside of the Grey Main Wall, which is a really cool wall that we can see that is basically kind of like the border between the Silverpine Forest and Gilneas, where Gilneas plays a pretty big part in the Cataclysm expansion with the Worgen playable race and the Fall of Gilneas and the Siege of Gilneas, which are like the same events but from like different perspectives, where we see Gilneas plays a big part in the Silverpine Forest storyline and the Cataclysm expansion, and then of course the Worgen starting experiences here in Gilneas as the Gilneans become Worgen because the Worgens kind of attack Gilneas, and then the Undead also attack Gilneas, and in a way Deathwing kind of attacks Gilneas. It's like the elements with like earthquakes and whatnot. But this is such a really cool area that is home to kind of a cool story going on here, where we have these Lordaeron refugees that are humans from Lordaeron that survived the plague and survived the Third War, and they fled to Gilneas to seek refuge. But because of the story related to Gilneas, where they aren't really taking in anyone from the outside world, where they have closed their borders and they are working to be self-sufficient and to basically ignore like any allies or enemies outside of Gilneas and to just be a kingdom by themselves, they aren't taking in these refugees from Lordaeron. And we see in the future this kind of backfires on them in the story, and there's a bunch of story development and whatnot that occurs throughout the story. But we can see that there's just a bunch of Lordaeron refugees, where there's a quest to come kill one of the refugees because like he was friends with one of the undead in the Undercity, and then he killed like the friend's wife. So then you are getting vengeance for that friend. Where I have some horrible news. Whereas I was coming into this area, I saw the son of Arugo there, which scared me a lot, and I like kind of almost died, but I was definitely far enough away because he didn't attack me, and I skirted around him, and I was anxious the whole time as I was going through this area. And then we have the boss himself, who I believe is 4 levels higher than me, and very powerful and very dangerous. And I knew I shouldn't have pulled this boss, and I just shouldn't have attempted to do this, because it's just not worth my time, and I should probably come back when I'm a higher level, but I just wanted to try anyways. So I saw a little bit of an opening where he was away from the refugees, and I pulled him and I started trying to attack him, and then I realized that I wasn't going to be able to win this fight, and I like hesitated a little bit thinking maybe I'll win this, but that's what I've thought in the past with my druid, and I just knew I wasn't going to make it, and I desperately tried to escape, and this happened. Yeah, he just ran back to the wall, and I had to reset the fight, which is super annoying because I just like wasted a little bit of my time. And if you thought I was going to die, I'm not going to die here. Of course I'm not. I knew what I was doing. But I went and I pulled him again, and this time I was much better with what I was doing, and he like started fleeing, so I got like an easy kill on him, and I completed this quest. And with completing this quest, I went and Hearthstone back to the Undercity so I could turn in this quest, and we are safe for this episode, which means, this is a little bit of a spoiler for the rest of this episode, we have survived episode 3 of a hardcore series, which means episode 4 is going to come out, which is going to be the final episode of the series because of what I'm planning to do. But still, nevertheless, we survived 3 episodes, which is very cool. Where, as I completed all of this, I went around the Undercity and I did a few different things where I turned in the quest, and then I did some tailoring where I got a new chest piece, which is really cool, and I did a little bit of enchanting so I could buff up my chest piece, which is also really cool. And then I just went around, sold some stuff, threw some stuff in my bank, and I picked up some supplies for this big adventure that I have planned for next episode. Our next episode is where we are going to continue our explorations of Azeroth on my Undead Priest here, where when it comes to this episode, I'm going to go ahead and call it good here, where I really hope you all enjoyed watching, and I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Remember, as always, to drink some water, check your posture, and and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in the world of Azeroth. Goodbye.